Welcome to the Bandano Podcast, where we're calling a spade a spade. Great to be here with you guys today. Well, something that many people, many Caitlin Clark fans have been focusing on since she's entered the league has been the amount of fouls that players are allowed to get away with. The physicality, the hand checking, the restriction of movement, the amount of fouls and hacking and scratching and clawing and clotheslining that players get away with in the WNBA seemed absurd coming into the league in 2024. So far in the preseason, that seems to...
Diana Taurasi didn't hold back. The words cut through the noise like a jagged blade, exposing a league that seems perfectly happy watching its biggest meal ticket get physically dismantled on national television. She called out the open season on Caitlin Clark, and the silence from the front office was absolutely deafening. This wasn't just a veteran talking trash, it was a warning that the WNBA is playing a dangerous game with its own future. The era of rugby basketball has reached a breaking point, and Taurasi just lit the fuse that could blow the whole system wide open.
Fouls, that's fine and dandy, but are they actually going to try to deter these players from committing flagrant fouls? Or is the fine going to be just a slap on the wrist? Well, the verdict is in, and the fine, the punishment, all that it's going to be is just a slap on the wrist. With a new CBA deal, these players are making much more money. Yet the fine, the increase in fines from last year to this year, raised just an itty bitty amount. Let's get right into it, shall we?
For months, fans have watched in horror as Caitlin Clark entered the league only to be greeted by a level of physicality that looks more like a backyard brawl than a professional basketball game. We're talking about hacking, scratching, clawing, and literal clotheslines that would be more at home in a wrestling ring. It's become a pattern of behavior that many believe is a targeted attempt to welcome the rookie by seeing how much pain she can endure. But as Taurasi pointed out, there's a massive difference between playing tough defense and allowing a player to be treated like a human punching bag, while the refs look the other way.
Suspension. These players are now making over $250,000. These players are now making over $500,000. These players are now making $750,000 and up. Some of them are making over $1 million. Do we really think a $500 fine is going to deter any of these dirty players from playing, I don't know, dirty? Do we think that any of these small fines are going to deter Dejanay Carrington from poking somebody else in the eye? Caitlin Clark poking her in the eye? Jessica Shepard poking her in the eye?
The biggest issue isn't just the fouls themselves, but the laughable consequences handed down by the league office. While the WNBA claims to be cleaning things up in 2024, the actual penalties for dirty play are nothing more than a minor inconvenience for these athletes. We're seeing a new era where salaries are skyrocketing, yet the fines for technical fouls have barely moved an inch. When you're making $500,000 a year, a $500 fine isn't a deterrent, it's just the cost of doing business. It's essentially a pay-to-play system for players who want to take cheap shots at the league's newest stars.
Any of these dirty players from playing, I don't know, dirty? Do we think that any of these small fines are going to deter Dejanay Carrington from poking somebody else in the eye? Caitlin Clark poking her in the eye? Jessica Shepard poking her in the eye? Is this going to deter Bree Hartley from grabbing a player by their ponytail? Is this going to deter a Diamond DeShields from truck sticking somebody? Is this going to deter Alyssa Thomas from truck sticking somebody? You would think with salaries raising 4x, maybe the fine should raise.
Let's look at the math, because the numbers simply don't add up under the new CBA deal. Players are now pulling in massive checks, with some stars earning over $750,000 or even breaking the $1 million mark with endorsements. Despite this massive influx of cash, the league only bumped the fine for a technical foul from $200 to $500. It's a joke. If your salary increases 5 times over, but your punishment for breaking the rules stays in the basement, what message are you sending? You're telling the players that the rules are optional, as long as they have a little spare change in their pockets.
Oh, not a warning, like you're gonna send me a letter in the mail? Technical foul 8. $1,500 fine plus a 1-game suspension. A player will be fined $1,500 for each technical foul received after their 8th and will receive a 1-game suspension for every other technical foul. For example, a player, we understand. Technical foul number 1 should be $1,000 off the rip. $1,000 off the rip. You guys got a 4 to 5x increase depending on where you are in this league. You got a 5x increase in technical foul number 1. $1,000. Technical fouls 4 through 7.
There is a specific list of dirty incidents that have gone largely unpunished, and it's starting to feel like a hit list. We've seen Diana Taurasi literally poking players in the eye, and Jessica Shepard doing the exact same thing without any real fear of retribution. Then you have Bree Hartley grabbing players by their ponytails like it's a street fight. These aren't basketball plays. They are intentional acts of aggression designed to intimidate and injure. When the league refuses to step in with meaningful discipline, they are essentially giving these players a green light to keep the rugby basketball alive and well.
Off the bat, flagrant 1, $10,000 fine. Again, this league needs a massive overhaul. This league has been dirty and physical and rugby and no skill since its inception. Now we got more skilled players in there. We have people actually tuning in. Broadcast partners have billions on the line. Time to clean this thing up. So we need drastic calls for drastic measures. Drastic times call for drastic we're in drastic times. Flagrant foul number 1, $10,000 off the bat. Flagrant foul number 2, $20,000 and you're suspended a game.
It doesn't stop at eye pokes and hair pulling. We've seen Diamond DeShields and Alyssa Thomas truck-sticking opponents, basically leveling them with full-body contact that has no place on a hardwood floor. This kind of unprotected state is exactly what has veterans like Taurasi so fired up. They've seen the league grow from nothing, and they know that this level of unchecked violence is a recipe for disaster. If a star like Caitlin Clark goes down with a season-ending injury because someone decided to play linebacker instead of guard, the entire league's momentum could evaporate in a single second.
Partners have billions on the line. Time to clean this thing up. So we need drastic calls for drastic measures. Drastic times call for drastic we're in drastic times. Flagrant foul number 1, $10,000 off the bat. Flagrant foul number 2, $20,000 and you're suspended a game. $20K and you're suspended a game. If you get your 3rd flagrant of a season, $30,000 fine and a 2-game suspension.
The official fine structure for the 2026 season was supposed to be the big fix, but it's looking more like a cover-up. For the first 3 technical fouls, a player is only hit for $500 each. It takes until the 8th technical foul to even trigger a 1-game suspension. Think about that for a second. A player can spend months being a menace on the court, racking up technicals, and playing dirty before they even have to sit out a single game. It's a slow-motion response to a high-speed problem, and the fans are starting to realize that the league's priorities are completely backwards.
You get your 3rd flagrant of a season, $30,000 fine and a 2-game suspension. And every flagrant after that is a $30,000 fine and a 2-game suspension. And let's see how fast we clean this league up. That's what you need to be doing, Kathy. You need to be cleaning this league up. Over penalize. You get a technical, we're coming for your pockets. You get flagrants, oh, we're definitely coming for those pockets, and you're going to be on the bench.
Perhaps the most ridiculous part of the new disciplinary system is the warning letter. After a player hits 5 technical fouls, the league sends them a letter in the mail, a literal piece of paper telling them to behave. In a world where these athletes are icons with millions of eyes on them, a sternly worded letter is about as effective as a no splashing sign at a water park. It's a bureaucratic hurdle that ignores the reality of what's happening on the court. Taurasi and others are rightfully laughing at the idea that a letter is going to stop someone from throwing an elbow or taking a cheap shot. The WNBA is currently at a crossroads where billions of dollars in broadcast rights are on the line. Partners are looking to invest heavily because the Caitlin Clark effect has brought a whole new audience to the sport. But those viewers aren't tuning in to see rugby basketball or athletes getting clawed in the face. They want to see skill, shooting, and high-level strategy. If the league doesn't overhaul its penalty system immediately, they risk turning off the very fans they worked so hard to attract. You can't have a premium product with slap-on-the-wrist consequences for dirty play. The solution being floated by those who actually want to protect the players is simple but drastic. Forget the $500 fines. If you want to stop a flagrant foul, you hit the player where it hurts, their bank account. A $10,000 fine for the first flagrant foul would change the culture of the league overnight. Suddenly, that hard foul doesn't seem so appealing when it costs as much as a new car. It's about creating a deterrent that actually scales with the new wealth entering the league. Anything less is just theater designed to look like they're taking action while doing nothing. If a $10,000 fine doesn't work, the next step has to be even more punishing. We're talking $20,000 and an automatic suspension for a second flagrant foul. By the time someone hits their third, the fine should jump to $30,000. This isn't about being mean. It's about survival. The WNBA has been physical and no skill in its officiating since its inception, and the only way to pivot toward a skill-based league is to make the alternative financially impossible. If you want to play dirty, you should be prepared to pay for the privilege of sitting on the bench. Why is this focusing so heavily on Caitlin Clark? Because she is currently the most targeted player in the history of the league. Every night there is a highlight reel of her being bumped, scratched, and harassed far beyond the limits of normal basketball. The league seems to think that because she's the new girl, she needs to earn her stripes by taking a beating. But Taurasi's point is that the WNBA should be protecting its assets, not letting them get pulverized. You don't see the NBA letting people truck stick LeBron James or Steph Curry just because they're popular stars. Diana Taurasi has seen it all, and she knows that the unprotected state of the league's stars is a ticking time bomb. She's played in an era where physicality was the only way to get respect, but she also understands that the game has evolved. For a veteran like her to speak out against the current state of officiating is a massive red flag. She isn't just complaining about a few missed calls, she's highlighting a systemic failure to adapt to the league's new reality. When the GOAT tells you there's a problem, you'd better start listening before the whole thing collapses in on itself. Even the rules around flopping are getting a rebrand, with names like Paige Buchers already being brought into the conversation before they even hit the pro floor. The league is trying to address every little detail, but they are missing the forest for the trees. Who cares about a player flopping for a call when another player is literally grabbing hair or poking eyes? The priorities are completely skewed. They are worried about the optics of the game, while ignoring the actual physical safety of the athletes. It's a classic case of corporate management losing touch with the reality. We are talking about a league where the salary cap increased nearly 5 times in a single year, jumping from $1.5 million to $7 million. The minimum salary has quadrupled. With that kind of growth, the WNBA is no longer a small-time operation. It's a multi-billion-dollar entertainment engine, yet the leadership is still acting like they are running a league that can't afford to offend its players with high fines. They need to realize that the product isn't the player's right to play dirty. The product is the game itself. And right now, the game is being tarnished. The current point system for flagrant fouls is a confusing mess that does more to protect the offenders than the victims. A flagrant 1 counts as 1 point, and a flagrant 2 counts as 2. You need 4 points just to get a 1-game suspension. It's a wait-and-see approach that allows players to accumulate multiple dangerous fouls before facing any real time off. It's a bureaucratic nightmare that prioritizes paperwork over player safety. We don't need a point system. We need a clear, immediate message that dangerous play will not be tolerated for even a single second. If you really want to clean up the league, the fines are only half the battle. You have to put people on the bench. A player who knows they will miss 2 or 3 games for a flagrant foul is going to think twice before lunging at someone's face. The WNBA has been rugby and no skill for too long, and the only way to transition into the skill era is to force the dirty players to either adapt or exit. Taurasi knows that the fans are here for the brilliance of the game, not the brawling. It's time to move the enforcers to the sidelines where they belong for good. The pressure is now squarely on Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. She's the one who has to decide if she's going to continue with these baby steps, or if she's finally going to overhaul the league's disciplinary structure. The fans are screaming for it, the veterans are calling for it, and the safety of the league's biggest stars depends on it. Every time a slap on the wrist fine is announced, it's a missed opportunity to set a new standard. The drastic times call for drastic measures mantra has never been more relevant than it is right now in this building controversy. We have to acknowledge that the players are finally getting the money they deserve, which is fantastic for the sport, but with great power and great paychecks comes great responsibility. You cannot expect to be treated like a professional athlete making $500,000 while playing like a street fighter. The new CBA should have been the moment where the league grew up in every sense, including how it handles discipline. Instead, it feels like they gave everyone a raise and then forgot to update the rules to reflect their new professional status and global visibility. When you look at the footage of these fouls, it's hard to argue they are accidental. The eye pokes, the ponytail grabs, the full-speed truck sticks. These are intentional choices made in the heat of the moment. The league's refusal to treat them as such is a slap in the face to every player who actually tries to play the game the right way. Taurasi's slam of the current state of the WNBA is a defense of the game's integrity. She's calling out the fact that the league is essentially rewarding bad behavior by making the penalties so incredibly low they don't even matter. If things don't change, the WNBA risks becoming a what-if story. What if they had protected Caitlin Clark? What if they had cleaned up the dirty play before a superstar got seriously hurt? We are seeing unprecedented interest in women's basketball, but that interest is fragile. It's built on the excitement of new talent and the evolution of the sport. If the league remains in this unprotected state, they are gambling with the biggest opportunity they've ever had. It's time to stop the rugby basketball once and for all and let the actual athletes shine on the court. The officials are starting to call more personal fouls, and that's a start, but it's not enough. We need a fundamental shift in how the WNBA views its responsibility to its players. We can't have a league where a warning letter is considered a serious disciplinary action. We need 5-figure fines and multi-game suspensions for anyone who thinks it's okay to scratch, claw, or clothesline their way to a win. The fans are watching, the sponsors are watching, and most importantly, the legends like Diana Taurasi are watching, and they are clearly not impressed right now. Ultimately, the WNBA has to decide what kind of league it wants to be. Is it a professional basketball organization that protects its stars and promotes skill, or is it a glorified wrestling match where the loudest and most aggressive players win? The current fine structure suggests they aren't ready to make that choice yet. But as the stakes get higher and the eyes of the world stay fixed on players like Caitlin Clark, the slap on the wrist era has to end. It's time to clean up the game, protect the players, and finally give the fans the elite product they deserve.